You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Check out the Israel Sports Radio store by clicking on the store tab on IsraelSportsRadio.com. Great items such as t-shirts, hats, books, and much, much more. Price does include shipping, and we do ship throughout the entire world. All major credit cards are accepted to make your shopping experience easy and convenient. So once again, click on the store tab on www.IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting founder Dick Robinson.
You know, the media business has changed a lot since we opened our doors in 1964. Now media content is everywhere, on air, online, on the go. More than ever, companies are looking for people to help drive this new media.
At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, you'll get hands-on training on the latest software and equipment in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has placed thousands of grads in broadcast media careers.
It's all about versatility. You see, at a radio station, if you also know how to shoot, edit, and post videos, you become a pretty hot commodity. That's the training you get at Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting with locations up and down the East Coast from Massachusetts to Miami. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Connecticut School of Broadcasting, the nation's oldest and largest group of broadcast media schools. Redefining training in radio, TV, and new media. Get trained. Get connected. 1-800-TV-RADIO.
Live from Studio C at the Cherry Hill campus for the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, it's All Noise Radio's Sports Talk with us.
Down goes Frazier. He scores! High fly ball into right field. She is gone!
Welcome to another edition of Sports Talk with us. I am your host for the next hour, Yossi G here. The sports talk about, so we're going to get underway right away. 856-330-4749 if you want to chime in, get your voice heard here on the show, or you could always send me a text, facebook.com, and search for Sports Talk with us, or you can go on to Twitter and check me up there at the Yossi G. Just a couple hours ago, earlier today, we heard, it came down from the Tallahassee Attorney General's office, from the Florida Attorney General's office, I should say, in Tallahassee, Jameis Winston, the quarterback for Florida State, likely a Heisman Trophy candidate, possibly, you're looking at not this year, obviously, because he has to spend at least a second year in, he has to be at least a junior before it comes out, so you're looking at possibly after next season and 2 drafts from now, likely being a lottery type pick, top 5 draft pick, being found innocent and of all charges brought against him. Purportedly, he was brought up by a former Florida State student, 19-year-old girl, saying that Winston raped her last year, and of course Winston went on to claim that it was consensual sex, and after all the investigation that was done last couple weeks, especially the Attorney General's office and everybody else that was involved, they came out earlier today saying that Winston will not be charged with anything. Nobody will be charged with any sort of misdemeanor assaults, anything like that, which would thus culminate in a courtroom proceeding. Everything is kind of hashed out, and nobody will be going to court for any sort of judge's ruling or such decision. That brings to mind many things. First and foremost, though, what this brings to mind is the idea, you remember with Kobe Bryant, you remember with Big Ben, with Ben Roethlisberger, the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You remember all these times where you had athletes who went out and did things that their mothers probably would not have been too fond of or too thrilled about. Yet, they seemingly get away from it all without having to pay too much of a quote-unquote price. Now with Winston, obviously, I mean, you just heard what it was earlier today, what came down from the top. With Roethlisberger, Super Bowl winning quarterback, the type of guy who everybody in Pittsburgh loved and adored. This big guy, sling it, he can, make plays, and he brought you a Super Bowl home. In Colorado, and there's the whole situation there where, there was an alleged sexual assault that went on there. And, of course, the way that story ended was the Big Ben settled out of court with the woman and her representatives. So that kind of, got pushed under the rug. Because, hey, never went to court. He was never formally charged with anything. All allegations. Kobe Bryant, on the other hand, he also, there was a settlement. He bought his wife, a $3 million rock to make up for raping a woman, and that was the end of that. But here's the moral dilemma that I have. You're somebody who is a fan of any of these teams, be it Florida State University, be it the Pittsburgh Steelers, or the Los Angeles Lakers, and here your star player, in the case of Big Ben, the guy who brought and won a Super Bowl for you, your Super Bowl winning starting quarterback, gets charged with these type of things, this type of allegations come up surrounding him. How do you feel about that? How do you react to something of that nature? Is it that idea where you say to yourself, oh, it's all right, it's fine, I'll kind of like compartmentalize it in my mind, what he does off the field and what he does on the field. So long as he performs on the field, I'm okay with whatever it is that he does off the field, provided that he doesn't miss any time from playing? Or are you the type who goes out there and you hear this going on about a player you love and adore, and now you can't root for him? And so long as he's still on that team, you can't root for the franchise. Let me know, 856-330-4749, to chime in with your take on this topic. And also, if you can't get enough time or you can't chime in because the lines are busy, send me a text. Send me a tweet. Facebook.com, search for Sports Talk with a Sports Rabbi. And Twitter, my handle is @TheYossiG. Let me know what's going on. Let me know what's on your mind. What is it that really makes the fans tick? I mean, think about Mark Sanchez. I mean, he had just led the New York Jets to back-to-back AFC title appearances, AFC Championship game appearances. And then in that offseason of 2010, there's a whole allegation that crept up for a little bit of time before it was kind of squashed and, put out, that he had gone to a young female woman, a young woman's home, actually her parents' home with her, and had sex with her there. How would that make you feel as a New York Jets fan right when you heard it? How did it make you feel right when you heard that? How do you go forward with a player like that? Now, again, nothing came of it. There's a whole lot of hoopla and things surrounding it at the moment, because at the end of the day, it is New York and it's the Big Apple. So these things are bound to happen, especially around a star athlete who literally has his star shining as bright as it possibly could for him at that point in time of his career. And then something like that comes out. It was a tabloid field day. But obviously, we know what happened down the road, because in hindsight, of course, it's 2020. We know that it wasn't really it was much ado about nothing, so that was the end of that. The question, though, is, at that point in time, when we as media or we as fans were in that situation in terms of watching the case develop every day or almost every hour, it seemed that something else was coming up about that. How do you feel about it? How did you feel about it then? How does, say, Ben Roethlisberger seemingly getting away easy, how does that make you feel now? How does Kobe Bryant, that he raped a 17-year-old girl, how does that make you feel? as a Lakers fan? Let me know, 856-330-4749, or send me a Facebook message at facebook.com and search for Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi, or send me a message on Twitter at the Yossi G. That's the question of the day. I mean, you think that, something like that would kind of take precedence over a lot of other things, and there are plenty of other things to get to. You also have Mike Tomlin, coach of the aforementioned Pittsburgh Steelers, gets fined yesterday $100,000 when for stepping onto the field last week during Jacoby Jones' kickoff return near the end of the Baltimore-Pittsburgh game, where Baltimore eventually won 22-20 on Thanksgiving. It's the second largest fine for a coach in the NFL ever. Second largest to Bill Belichick, getting $500,000 for Spygate against the New York Jets. I think this is a good step by the NFL to prove to everybody, to prove to the football world, the football fan base, that it will not tolerate such behavior. You look at Tomlin said after the whole incident occurred, he told media reporters and that he was dazed and he was mesmerized by the Jumbotron and didn't realize where he was standing on the field until, of course, the last moment. But if you look at the replay of that whole instance, there's a nice little snarky little smile, naughty smile that crosses his mouth after the whole incident. Now, of course, we don't know what's going to happen in terms of the referees yet. For that game, they probably will get a negative rating, so to speak, from that play because they did not throw a flag for a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, which they should have. And it was noted by the NFL's refereeing department that the referees should have thrown a flag on that play, but they didn't. So whatever it is. If you remember, this is not the first player who maybe he wanted to try to attempt to trip Jacoby Jones, or maybe he was just trying to have Jones run a slightly different route, so kind of knock him off course enough that the Pittsburgh coverage unit would be able to catch up to him and tackle him, which kind of seemed that's what happened. I don't know if that was Tomlin's idea, if that was his brainchild, or he saw what was going on, that Jones had slipped a hole and he was up the sideline and was on his way to take it all the way to the house. But remember Sal Alosi? He was a New York Jets strength and conditioning trainer, and he was suspended by the Jets when the video cameras caught him tripping a Miami Dolphins player on the sideline. Also, it was like a kickoff. If I recall correctly, it was a kickoff as well, and it was behind the play, and he stuck his foot out and tripped the player. I don't remember who the player was at this point in time. But it shows consistency by the NFL, that they're willing to fine coaches, in the case of Tomlin, $100,000 out of his own pocket. And to make matters even worse, so to speak, for the Steelers, is that once the draft order comes out in a couple weeks from now, they're going to find out from the league if the NFL is going to either dock them a draft pick or move them down in the order a little bit or do nothing. Time will tell. When I come back, we're going to be discussing a little bit more about this weekend's games and what exactly do we make of Nick Foles and the Philadelphia Eagles. And of course, the phone lines are open, 856-330-4749. Chime in, get in, let me hear what you have to say. You're listening to Sports Talk with the All News Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Honey, again you're sitting here sulking?
I hate my job and I don't know what to do to change it.
Get off the couch and go check out the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
The Connecticut School of Broadcasting? What's that? The Connecticut School of Broadcasting offers a career and lifestyle change through a broadcasting experience you won't ever forget. Log on to GoCSB.com to find out how a career in broadcasting is for you and not just the people you see on TV or hear on the radio. CSB focuses on many aspects of real-world broadcasting, and their knowledgeable instructors teach you through a hands-on approach so you're in the studio in no time. To find out how CSB can help you work in an industry you love, call 1-800-TV-RADIO or check us out online at GoCSB.com.
Why work 50 weeks a year for a 2-week vacation when you can enjoy your job every day?
Don't just sit there. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com.
Thanks, CSB.
Your computer is blowing up to the sounds of All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
It's time for Hanukkah. So much Hanukkah to celebrate.
Welcome back to Sports on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. A happy Hanukkah out there to everybody who was just celebrating the last week and a half or so of the holiday. Started on the day before Thanksgiving and went all the way up technically till about a couple hours ago. I'm still here in the spirit. I'm still loving it. I'm still enjoying it. I left my house. It was still Hanukkah. Come here out to the studio to do the show. So what the heck? Why not? A little bit of Adam Sandler there to bring it back. I was traveling over the Hanukkah holiday. I went with my wife. We went up to Niagara Falls. We were there over Thanksgiving. And then we went to visit some relatives of mine in Toronto. And while we were there, figured, what the heck, let's go to the Hockey Hall of Fame. And we did. It was really nice. I've never been to the Hockey Hall of Fame. Been to Toronto a couple times. Never been to the Hockey Hall of Fame. Apparently now it's in a new building. It's really, really nice. They did a really good job there, making it really come to you. Earlier on in the year, I went to the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts. Also a nice place. The old building was, wow. But the new building now where the Basketball Hall of Fame is really, really also done very well. I thought the Hockey Hall of Fame, actually, there was a lot more interactive sort of stuff than I thought there might be for the visitors to experience, for the visitors to go out and actually do and see, touch, What I thought was really neat about the N.H.L. Hall of Fame is that there's a whole room designated just for the trophies that are given out at the end of each season. And if you want to take a picture with Lord Stanley's chalice, also known as the Stanley Cup, you can. I thought that was pretty neat. You do not need to wear those white gloves. You can just stand there, put your hand on it. You can't kiss it. That's when they'll get upset. But you can put your hand on it, hold it, smile, wave, do whatever. There you go. There you are. Stanley Cup. Right there. You can touch it, and you're not even a hockey player. How awesome is that? I thought it was pretty cool. And so they have, you walk through, you have from the origins of hockey, from where hockey began all the way up till today. They have a whole international section where all the different, the Russian, with the USSR and all of that sort of stuff, the 1976 Summit Games and the Olympics, and they also have jerseys from every single country that has a representative, officially recognized ice hockey team, to include, like Thailand and North Korea. Israel has their jersey there, South Africa, Bangladesh, some pretty cool stuff going on. If you're ever in the Toronto area, I would definitely say it is worthwhile to check out. It's worth the $17.50 entrance to get in, but just go with a couple hours, and even so much so, even if you go with people who are not necessarily that interested in hockey, like my wife, they even have things there to keep them interested. There are things there for everybody. Pretty sweet. But I digress. When you want to talk about how good a quarterback is in the NFL, there are all these different calculations and statistics and all these fancy schmancy sort of things that people use in order to get to that conclusion. Well, I don't have an iPhone with Siri, but I know somebody who does. And he wanted to try to test out this theory that he heard about himself. So using Siri to determine who the best quarterback in the NFL is, he, asked Siri, who is the best quarterback in the NFL? And she did her whole little calculation and, came back saying, Nick Foles is the best quarterback in the NFL. And then she brings proof. And there's a little screen right underneath, right below where she says that Nick Foles is the best quarterback in the NFL, she states her reasoning. Why, in a graph, like kind of why Nick Foles is the best. And essentially it's because he has the best quarterback rating that makes him the best quarterback. That's really to be argued about. I don't necessarily agree with the computers. I mean, the computers are pretty cool, and usually what the computer says goes, but I don't really think that the computers are always right. 856-330-4749. Chime in with your opinion on the matter, or send me a text on Facebook.com and search for Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi, or conversely, you could also send me a tweet at the Yossi G and get your opinion in over here on this. I mean, you look at the computers and how everything's been going on, over the years, and how computers are like, smarter than humans and all that other good stuff. But here I think is where the A line has to be drawn. It's not going to be a surefire, yes, he is the best quarterback, no, he's not the best quarterback. And even right now, it's still something you can argue if he is the best quarterback in the NFL right now. I say no. He is definitely the top 3 quarterbacks right now in the NFL. But when you look at a guy, and I think Foles has done a phenomenal job. You can't really argue with the numbers. The last month, I mean, really since he was playing this season outside of the Dallas Cowboys game, his numbers are borderline ridiculous. He's had the best quarterback rating in the league this season. He's got 0 interceptions to 19 touchdowns. Nobody else comes near that. So when you look at what he's done, there is certainly reasoning for why Siri will come out and say that he's the best quarterback. But when you get that eye test going on, you look at how he's playing on a Sunday, when you look at how he's throwing the ball and how he's running in and out of the pocket, or lack thereof, from trying to get away from defenders to extend plays so he can then use his arm and throw the ball downfield. And you look at the eye test, and let me ask you this. Would you rather have Peyton Manning? Or would you rather have Tom Brady? Or would you rather have Nick Foles? Right now. I think right now, I would go with either Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. Depends on my mood, depends on the day, but I certainly would not take Nick Foles right now over those two guys. Don't get me wrong, he is playing exceptionally well. In the last month, nobody can touch him. But there are reasons to be suspect of his full, rounded, entire package capabilities. One of those things, and this is something that the Philadelphia Eagles must figure out, is scoring in the fourth quarter. Nick Foles, the last 4 games, the team has been outscored 33-0, and they haven't had an offensive touchdown in the fourth quarter since Tampa Bay in Week 6. Now, when you look at what could be the issues for something like this, part of the problem, obviously, is that, I don't know if that's necessarily a problem, but part of the problem for not scoring in the fourth quarter is that they build up such a large lead by the time the end of the third quarter comes around that opponents are expecting them to just run in the fourth quarter trying to milk the clock. So they just stack the box. Another issue with that is Foles lets the play clock wind down, even though they may be running the no-huddle offense, which is what they like to do, the Eagles like to do, even if they're running a no-huddle offense, Foles still lets everybody set up at the line and waits for the clock to hit, 3 or 2 before the snap of the football. The problem with that is it allows the defense to match up. And if there's any mismatches, they can change, and that's the end of the mismatch. There seems to be a different style of play for the Philadelphia Eagles than in the first, second, or third quarters. And that is impacting their performance in the fourth quarter in terms of scoring points and keeping that foot on the proverbial throat and pedal to the metal, that type of thing. And it allows for teams to catch up. You look at the Washington game. The Redskins came back down 24-0 after 3. The final score was 24-16, and the Redskins were driving, and RG3 was picked off in the end zone by Brandon Boykin with about 20 seconds left in the game. Look at last week against Arizona. Again, the Cardinals were driving also. They lost the game 24-21. So the Cardinals were driving as well in the last 2 minutes of the game, had a chance to tie it up or take the lead. Do you really want to have that every single week against playoff contending teams, against teams that are still in the hunt, teams that have pretty solid defenses, good offenses, teams that can play with you? Are you sure you want that? Because at some point, your team is going to give. And the Philadelphia Eagles, they do have a pretty solid offense. They have a pretty good defense. And both units have come a long way since the beginning of the season. Don't get me wrong. Both units have come a very long way. But that said, there are plenty of other teams out there that are still better than them. The Detroit Lions this coming week. When you look at a defensive front, and Ndamukong Suh and company, this guy can play and wreak havoc for you. You look at their offense, Matt Stafford, Calvin Johnson, these guys can, Reggie Bush, they can really come to play and they can really bring it to the Eagles. So if you're Chip Kelly and the Philadelphia Eagles and you see yourself with such a lead, comes the fourth quarter, are you sure you want to just hang points up out there for the possibility of the Detroit Lions to go ahead and snag them and catch up and possibly surpass you and end up winning the game? Are you really sure about that? Don't get me wrong, I don't think Chip Kelly wants to do that and is thinking of, hey, let's go every week and we'll play and we'll score 24, 25 points on the opponent and we'll see if they can catch up to us. Hey, why not? I don't think he's thinking that. There's a little bit of an adjustment period, an adjustment process from the college game to the professional game, but I think what he's going to learn, and he's going to learn that hopefully not the hard way, hopefully by now, the last couple weeks where he's seen what the possible outcome for playing this way can be if he's on the other side of the football, so to speak. I think he's going to want to end up changing his game plan a little bit. And some solutions for this, of course, is obviously if the defense stacks the box, just play action. Come on, you're stacking the box with 8, 9 guys. You set up to look like a run play, and either you run a little bubble screen or play action. Get some to bite, get some to hold their position, and you're talking one-on-one. Deshaun Jackson, he can fly down the field. Riley Cooper has been made to look into a superstar over the last couple weeks. You got your tight ends involved a lot more last week than they have all season. You're talking about a bunch of facets, many facets within your offensive game plan that you can bring out if they stack the box. You don't have to give it to Shady every single time. You don't have to give it to LaShawn McCoy to have him try to run it through, the entire stack up there on the box. Another thing that you can do, besides for play action and, of course, making sure nobody drops a pass, because that's the risk of passing the football. Is even if you run the ball and you are stuffed for no gain, 40 seconds are still come off the clock. However, a defense is going to be willing to give up 2 minutes of game time every single drive if they have the ability to get the ball back and take a possession down the field and to try to score. Our defense will do that every single time. They'll give you the 2 minutes from game clock, and we'll take our chances down the field ourselves. Thank you very much. So you just have to make sure that you hold on to the football. Play action passes, make sure nobody drops the ball, or you give a little bubble screen. Also, what has to happen is, of course, the up-tempo. They have to keep that up-tempo, and once you get to the fourth quarter, keep it going, and maybe even slow the game down. Either you keep the up-tempo and you keep doing what you're doing, play action, bubble screens, that sort of thing, or you play with a huddle. Go into the huddle, slow the game down in terms of how your offense comes to the line, that they're not at the line with 25 seconds still on the game clock, but they're at the line. They only show up to the line with 8 or 7 seconds left, and Nick Foles quickly takes one quick look at the defense, and bang, you're gone. This way the defense does not have the ability to quickly change players in areas where there is a mismatch. Play like the Patriots did in 2007. Pedal to the metal, foot on the throat of the opposition, all way the whole way, and I guarantee opponents will be upset if you start running up the score, but I think that's a problem that Chip Kelly would love to have, is that opponents are upset at him that he's running up the score. I think that would be something that he would graciously accept, and should that happen, that opponents complain that the Philadelphia Eagles are running up the score, well, you deal with it then. I'll be right back. Yossi G here, Sports Talk Spotlight here on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Open up some phone lines. We'll take some calls, a little bit more NFL stuff to get through, and then, of course, the awesomeness that is the New York Yankees. Don't go anywhere.
It's been 48 years Connecticut School of Broadcasting has helped place thousands of people, just like you, in exciting careers in radio, television, and the new media. At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, our hands-on approach is different. It's designed to have you spend less time in the classroom and more time in the studios. From the first day, you'll work with state-of-the-art equipment. Learn by doing from our team of industry professionals who come from their studios to ours. The best part about it, you'll learn it all in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. So do what I did. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO. Step into the fast-paced world of the broadcast media. Day and evening classes begin soon. Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Get trained and get connected now. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com.
All Noise Radio. The noise. The noise you can't ignore.
Welcome back here on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. As always, you can chime in 856-330-4749 or send me a tweet at the SVG or a message, facebook.com, and search for Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi. The New York freaking Yankees. What? I mean, if you're not a Yankee fan, you've got to be hating right now the evil empire, especially if you're a Red Sox fan. Oh man, your disdain is burning. Your vehement hatred is spewing forth. You are colossally pissed at the New York Yankees. This was it now? It's been 2 days. They signed Jacoby Ellsbury to a 7-year, $153 million deal. They got Brian McCann for 7 years and $85 million. Together, you're talking about $238 million for two of the premier free agents right now on the market. At the end of the day, these are the damn Yankees. So it just makes sense that they should go out there and Oh, yeah, we want to get it under a tax threshold of $189 million. Yeah, we don't want to pay luxury taxes. Yeah, BS. I call false. I call bogus. I call horse manure on that. I mean, just look at what happened. Brian McCann, Jacoby Ellsbury. You're still going to have to add another bat. It may or may not be Robinson Cano. You have to add at least one starting pitcher. You got to add at least another reliever. $189 million suddenly seems like a very small number. Jacoby Ellsbury and Brian McCann are going to be Yankees for the foreseeable future. Folks in Atlanta saw this coming from Brian McCann that he was leaving the team. Folks in Boston were hoping that Ellsbury, even if he was going to be leaving, were hoping he was not going to go to the Yankees. They were hoping that the Yankees would be too busy trying to figure out if they were going to re-sign Robinson Cano. The Yankees still have work to do. Like I said, they still have to sign that other bat. They still have to sign the starting pitcher and relief guy. A-Rod's $25 million cap hit is still in play at least until late January when an arbitrator is going to announce his decision with Alex Rodriguez in baseball and the 211-game suspension. If the $25 million is freed up, you look for the Yankees to go ahead and either make a move for a free agent or try to trade for a player because they're going to suddenly have these $25 million to play with at that point in time. They're going to try. They really are going to push to sign Hiroki Kuroda for probably in the $15-16 million range for on a 1-year contract. They're going to also make an offer for Masahiro Tanaka, player, the Japanese pitcher, and probably a relief pitcher or two. The issue, though, comes into play as follows. You have Robinson Cano. Let's say you re-sign him. Let's say the Yankees re-sign him at $175 for 7 years. Because if he wants $200, he's going to be in Seattle. If Seattle offers him 8 years with $200, you know he's going to Seattle because the Yankees said they're not going to be offering anything. They're not offering any more contracts that start with a 2 in them. So you look at that and you say to yourself, okay, so let's say they re-sign Cano. They probably don't have enough then for Tanaka because they're going to try to get Kuroda and then, of course, another relief pitcher or two to help solidify the bullpen. If that happens, you're going to be allowing one of the better hyped players to come out. Obviously, Darvish came out and you saw what he did after a couple of adjustment period starts, if you may, into Major League Baseball players and to Major League Baseball in and of itself in North America. But Tanaka offers something that the Yankees haven't had. It's good pitching and it's youth together at the same time. Steady good pitching. I mean, even Nova has been good at times, not so good at other times. Phil Hughes has been consistently inconsistent. So you're looking at one of the more guaranteed solid pitchers who's still got plenty of years under him that he can still pitch coming out of Japan. The issue with Tanaka becomes now the MLB in the States and Japanese Pacific League. They have always had this posting system that when a player becomes eligible to play outside of Japan, a team from Major League Baseball, they all put in their silent bids. Team that has the highest bid for the rights, just the rights, to talk to that Japanese player, they get that. I mean, obviously, the team with the highest bid gets then the rights to talk to the Japanese player and in the hopes of signing him. 30 days to sign him to a contract. You don't sign him to a contract, it goes to the next team. That system is currently outdated, and the baseball and Japan, the States and Japan they're both trying to figure out a new type of a posting system that they could put together. And right now they're looking at it would be $20 million max, and if it's more than one team that hits that $20 million threshold, then the player gets to choose which team he wants to sign with or which team he wants to entertain first in terms of contract talks. If this new system goes into play, and the Yankees are close to the tax threshold that everybody believes they're going to be, then the new type of posting will probably hurt the New York Yankees in ways that most people don't realize. And essentially, you have other teams are going to be offering the same amount of money as the Yankees in terms of posting fee. But because the posting fee is going to be capped at $20 million, other teams will be able to offer more in the contract to Tanaka than the New York Yankees will be able to, because the Yankees are going to be close to the tax threshold, whereas other teams are not. Now, posting doesn't count towards the cap, but because they don't pay as much, they'll feel compelled to be able to give Tanaka more money over the course of that contract. Now, again, if Cano says yes to the Yankees, likely you can say toodles to Tanaka, because he's not coming to New York, or at least for the Yankees. And even though that may very well likely be, Jacoby Ellsbury and Brian McCann, I mean, you're talking the signings that the Yankees did over the last week and a half are going to help them right now, because the Yankees sorely need those bats in the lineup. The biggest question, though, with that, and it comes from our good friend Andy Gershman, comes via Facebook, is he wants to know, in terms of Ellsbury and McCann, yeah, they may be good. He says they may be good in the lineup for the Yankees, but that's when they're in the lineup. Too much money for guys who get hurt too often. You know, I agree with that, and obviously all teams are paying players based upon their ability to actually perform. I don't think the New York Knicks, for example, were going to be paying Allen Houston $110 million to sit on a bench for 7 years. And even after he retired, they were still paying him because they knew that he was going to play like another season and a half, and that was it. I don't think so. The Yankees certainly signed Jacoby Ellsbury, and he had to pass the physical, and he passed the physical on Wednesday. They sign him and Brian McCann with the hope that they'll stay healthy. Yeah, they've been injured and have had injuries over the last couple seasons that have kept them out, a 15-day DL here, a 15-day DL there. But there's definitely hoping that they're going to actually be able to stay healthy. Brian McCann to shore up a catcher spot, which became a glaring weakness for the team after Russell Martin left to, of all teams, the Pittsburgh Pirates. And Jacoby Ellsbury coming in from Boston, it is literally, if you can't beat him, buy him. That's what it's become for the Yankees. Johnny Damon, same thing. Can't beat him, buy him. And that's what happened. And here's another guy who Boston Red Sox faithful are saying he's a traitor, because he traded the Red Sox for the Pinstripes. Well, look, it's a business at the end of the day, and the Red Sox were not interested in keeping him. Fine, so be it. Do I agree with that signing? No, I don't think that the Yankees really should have gotten Ellsbury, because you're looking at a guy who's kind of getting older. He's 31 years old. He's not per se at the front end of his prime. He's at the back end of his prime. Yeah, he'll give you a couple years of solid playing, solid hitting, but you're going to hurt for this contract on the back end, 100%. And Brian McCann will probably give you less years at the catcher spot, because the catcher spot, as we all know, takes a lot of beating. He'll be much more worse for the wear, that's for sure. Well, when we come back, I'll break down the comparison of Mark Cuban and Mikhail Prokhorov, as well as taking some more of your text, tweets, and if you want to chime in, 856-330-4749. You're listening to Sports Talk with Spear on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
You know, our jobs occupy more than half our waking hours. Shouldn't we be doing something we love? Call Connecticut School of Broadcasting at 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Since 1964, Connecticut School of Broadcasting, with a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami, has helped place thousands of grads as DJs, sportscasters, entertainment reporters, behind the scenes in audio and video production, every aspect of the broadcast media. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has trained men and women of all ages and backgrounds in a matter of months, not years. Learn by doing from area radio and TV pros. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. Day and evening classes begin soon. Get trained. Get connected now.
Your computer is blowing up to the sounds of All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Hello out there, we're on the air, it's hockey night tonight. Tension grows, the whistle blows, and the puck goes down the ice. The goalie jumps and the players bump and the fans all go insane. Someone roars, Bobby scores at the good old hockey game.
Welcome back to here on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. As always, 856-330-4749 if you want to chime in, get your voice heard on the program. Here, the last segment of Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi. Or you can send me a tweet at the YossiG or send me a Facebook message, facebook.com, and search for Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi. You know, we're talking here with hockey, and you just when it comes to baseball, when it comes to signing players, and when it comes to other sports, specifically in this case hockey, you're talking about Henrik Lundqvist just re-signed with the Yankees, extended his contract 7 more years, $59.5 million, $8.5 million per season. He is a Ranger for life. Now, I mentioned this. I was getting some feedback here. People already are on top of me saying how can I even start comparing the two? It's like apples and watermelons, which is, I mean, that's really how I look at it. But even if you're going to start comparing, and you see really where baseball has begun to decline a little bit, because the contracts that are being offered, they are expensive. Don't get me wrong. They are expensive. But teams are less willing to pay the price for pitchers, for outfielders, for athletes, for baseball players that they were willing a couple years ago. And now with the Rangers putting out the price tag that he did for Henrik Lundqvist, he's going to be the highest paid Ranger, the highest paid goalie in the NHL. It goes to show, firstly, how much he means to the team, and that he didn't leave after his contract ends at the end of this season through free agency and go and sign somewhere else. Also goes to show how much the team and the city of New York means to Henrik Lundqvist. So it was like a give and give for both sides. But what it goes to show me, when I look at a contract like this, so expensive, for a very worthwhile cause. I mean, look at Hank. Look at what he's done for the team. He won the team MVP 7 times, won a Vezina. He's been a finalist 4 other times. What it means for him to sign such a contract in terms of the NHL is it proof how much the NHL has grown since Gary Bettman took over as commissioner in the early 1990s. The annual profits that hockey makes is closing in on baseball. Baseball's only $3.5 billion more than the NHL. Not quite double. Not quite double. The NHL is making a little over $4.5 billion last year, and baseball made a little under $7.5 billion. So about $3 billion, $3.5 billion, something along those lines. Of course, hey, give $100 million here, give or take $100 million. What's that amongst sports, right? It's not much. Big deal. So when you look at how much the contracts are worth from hockey in terms of you're talking about a star player, granted, and if the goaltenders would be able to wear C's on their sweater, then he likely would be the captain for the Rangers, just like Marty Brodeur would be for the Devils, etc., etc. But I digress again. This contract that was presented to Henrik Lundqvist that he signed at the dotted line shows me that the NHL has grown so much, has grown to a point where the teams are willing to put forth the big bucks, either to ensure that their star player does not leave the team, as was the case with Henrik Lundqvist, or to grab or nab somebody from free agency to bring to their team to help them contend for Lord Stanley's chalice, for the Stanley Cup. When you also look at the fact that the NHL signed a new contract with Rogers Communications in Canada for a new TV deal, expect the salary cap to go up, expect the salary floor to rise as well, expect more players to get paid, bigger paydays, expect contract values to go up, expect the gap to close just a little more between the NHL and some of the other high-paying sports such as baseball and such as basketball, such as the upper echelon of the NFL as well. You look at what the actual signing means to the Rangers. What really underscored the importance of Henrik Lundqvist to the New York Rangers is the fact that MSG owner, Cablevision owner, James Dolan was at the press conference announcing that this deal was done. Now, Dolan is not, he's rarely seen at the Garden for hockey games. Lifelong Ranger fan, self-professed Ranger fan for life, and has always been, but he's rarely seen at Madison Square Garden in a fashion or in a format or in a setting that revolves around the NHL and hockey. So I look at that as one sign. If you have to look a little bit beyond that, Henrik Lundqvist could have gone elsewhere for more money, but he chose to stay in New York also because he loves the organization. He loves the city. He loves the team, and the team loves him. Why wouldn't you? You have a player on your team that won the MVP 7 times. The team MVP, I should stress. 7 out of the 8 times that he was eligible for it. He won the Vezina and has been once and has been a finalist, like I mentioned, 4 other times. And he has a chance now to win the Cup in New York, which he said is the biggest dream that he has, is hoisting the Stanley Cup in New York City. And you look at what he's done this season. He had a shaky start to kick off the year. The Rangers were on the road the first 9 games of the season. He had a shaky start, but in the last 15 Ranger games, he's got a .930 save percentage in those last 15 games. Now, of course, this deal with Henrik Lundqvist is going to really put a little bit of a restriction with the New York Rangers at their attempt, of course, at keeping their captain Ryan Callahan, star defenseman Dan Girardi, Anthony Strahlman, and of course, Brian Boyle, among some of the other named unrestricted free agents, as they all have their contracts expiring at the end of this season. But the first order of business was getting Henrik Lundqvist back. That has been accomplished. So the Rangers now can look forward to their general manager, Glenn Sather, meeting with all the representatives from all the other players to hope that they can get contracts done before the free agency, before they hit free agency. And as well, the players don't have to keep their mind. They can take their mind off the contract situation, kind of let that work out for itself. And the best thing that they can do is play well, because that just improves their value to the team. You talk about basketball. I'm talking about proving your value to a team. Mark Cuban, owner of the Dallas Mavericks, has known to be able to put his value, be able to really underscore what value truly does mean to a franchise, to a company, to an organization. And he looked at the Dallas Mavericks after they won the championship in 2011. And he looked at a team that was getting a little older. He looked at a team that would be floundering down the road, as well as costing him a pretty bloody penny. That fear that he had of keeping the team intact because the fans would love it, but paying them a hefty payday, that fear is currently being played out in Brooklyn, New York. Signing or retaining aging players and then being stuck with their bloated contracts without having enough cap space to sign anyone of significance for future off seasons, and thereby not being able to perform well during the season, thus likely missing the playoffs. That's exactly what's going on right now with the Brooklyn Nets. Right now in Brooklyn, this is what's happening. They brought in, there was all this big rah-rah about getting Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett and Jason Terry, who used to play with the Mavs, by the way, when they all came over from Boston in a trade with Brooklyn before the season began. What seemed to be that, Brooklyn made off like bandits in that trade. These guys now make a combined $33.4 million. And everybody knew that Boston wanted to dump salary. And here, these three guys who kind of are at the twilight of their career at best. Yeah, we'll trade you to Brooklyn. Sure, what the heck? We get some younger guys, probably there's certainly lesser talents, but they can be used. We can build a team, and either with them or trade them elsewhere and get other pieces, because their contracts are more sexy. They're not as expensive. They're not as high priced of commodities as, say, a Paul Pierce or a Kevin Garnett. What these three have done this year for the Nets is Pierce is averaging just under 12.5 points a game. Garnett's averaging 6.5, and Jason Terry is averaging 5.3 points per game. Brooklyn is sporting right now a 5-13 record, just a little bit better than the New York Knicks at the opening point of the season, 19 games into the season. Cuban has allowed Tyson Chandler, J.J. Barea, and Terry to all walk after winning the title in 2011. And obviously the reason for that was because he would clear cap space in the hopes of signing a young star the following offseason, the following offseason, to pair with Dirk Nowitzki. Chris Paul turned down the interview. Deron Williams went to Brooklyn, and Dwight Howard went first to the Lakers, then to the Houston Rockets, and they did not come to Dallas. Okay, fine, no problem. The Mavs currently sit in 7th place in the West, 12-8 record. Cuban brought in Monta Ellis and Jose Calderon to help take the pressure off from Nowitzki. It's all good. No problem. No harm, no foul. What Cuban has done is something that Mikhail Prokhorov has failed to recognize, is you cannot force an NBA championship to come to your team. You can't force a league championship to come to your team just by buying talent, especially talent that is past their prime. Ask the New York Rangers, they'll tell you the same thing. They missed the playoffs for 7 years, the end of the 90s, early 2000s, because that's what they did. They brought in free agent, high-priced, over-the-hill talent that could not perform. Prokhorov will learn. Oh, he'll learn. But, like they say, trial by fire. He'll learn the hard way, but once he learns, be careful what we wish for, I guess you can say. And before I head out of here, one last little nugget of craziness. The Super Bowl ads have gone up to $4.5 million for a simple 30-second ad during the Super Bowl. Well, guess what? $4.5 million apparently is not that much, because Fox reported early today that they have sold out completely of Super Bowl ads. Every single time slot is taken during the Super Bowl. $4.5 million gone. Every single time slot. Super Bowl commercials have been sold out at $4.5 million per 30-second slot. Congratulations, Fox. That's pretty ridiculous. Philadelphia, I think, is going to beat the Lions 34-31. The Jets, they are going to probably fall to Oakland 24-13. And I have the New York Giants holding on against the San Diego Chargers 24-21 in San Diego that game. It should be a fun Sunday. I really, really am excited for it. It should be a lot of fun to watch, so sit back and enjoy the weekend. That's all for me tonight. I am Yossi G, the Sports Talk with the Sports, All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. See ya.
All Noise Radio. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio. The noise you can't ignore.